Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to introduce, it's for the third time, G2's general manager, Romain. How do you feel, brother?
Hello, you. Really, really good. Yeah, I got your face back. Nice. Good. We're back. We're back from China. So it was an interesting tournament, to say the least, where I feel like we learned a lot. So I'm happy. It's nice. We have a few days of rest now before restarting next Sunday. It's gonna be quick.
No, it's very, very fast. I guess there must be a feeling of, like especially from your part, because last time we talked, it's like you guys cemented the off season very, very quick. There must be an element of peace in the fact that you are progressing together as the group. Sometimes something that's been personally frustrating for me in the past is like when you sometimes miss the obvious lessons you've learned from the past and the group needs to go through that again. Did it feel like a progression as you imagined it? Did you carry all the lessons from the past and did you now learn an additional layer, so to speak?
For sure. The whole adventure on its own was an excellent question for us. It was the necessary question for us after keeping the same roster and having such two good splits. How are we gonna be on the international stage? Can we still consistently do something? Because that's a feeling we've had by the end of 2023. It was, we're good, and then we're not good. At least not good enough to score points and get something consistent back home. So it was a really, really important test for us, which is why we decided to just prepare this one the best possible. And it was nice timing as well, because we had potentially those lane swap strategies available to us. We had a double trophy, the same guys. We did a big boot camp, so we knew ahead of time how we wanted to organize it. So I think it's nice.
Oh, cool. I think we have to cover the whole journey from the last time we spoke, because the last time we spoke was before
when
spring.
Do we start?
Because of course everything is kind of connected, right? It's like spring into MSI is very, very connected. And spring split. I guess from an outside perspective, it felt like, it's obvious that G2 is going to make it through, but it was a little bit of a roller coaster up and down with certain performances. I felt like Caps was always there. How much pressure did you guys feel during the spring split, and what are some of the challenges that you guys faced, knowing that eventually you will be going to MSI, and how did you plan your structuring of the split and tie that into the general story of doing well internationally?
The spectra. Wait, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna grab the whiteboard I used to describe. Here we go. That's our spring. Nice. I'm gonna put that here, so I can. How did this one went? We started with 5 scrim day, which is something we don't usually do, because we think 5 scrims day back to back is really exhausting for the players. But we didn't have choice because we took long holidays. And by long holidays, I mean a solid 6 days, because when you finish the season last, you have to go. You have to go next, right? Last term, when you're the last team playing, so the other teams have been waiting for a bit, so season had to restart. So we couldn't start scrim as early as the rest. You usually start with a lot of media day. You need to give some internally to G2. You need to give some to Riot, of course. We did a nice workshop with Isma, which is a nice way to discuss winter, especially because sometimes you have thoughts between splits, and you're like, we should have done that, we should have done that. So it's important when you restart the whole season to clean those thoughts. So this workshop is here to clean a bit the past. Where are we in the present, and what are our expectations? How we're going to actually achieve those goals and stuff. So those are really nice stuff. Really nice workshop. And then we just started the season. 3-0 first weekend. That was good. It was BDS, MDK, K-Corp, and then the rhythm start. It was really, really short season, which you probably remember.
Yes.
You scrim only 3 days a week, so it's super intense. Beginning of week, right? You have only 3 days to fix things, and any loss sends you to the darkness because they can snowball pretty fast. So second week was 2-1, and last week was 1-2. Oh yeah, we lost to Rogue and Vitality. But I remember it being fine to lose games because overall we were winning a lot, and we started to have a pretty good grasp upon the meta. So we were happy. We were happy about that. And playoff 2-0 Matt, 2-0 Fnatic, 3-1 BDS. It was good. I remember like the whole lane swap stuff helped us a lot to stay focused on something, because the game can't become boring anymore because you get glued in the meta, and then sometimes one of your player is stuck on champions he doesn't like, or he really wants to try stuff, or you get bored playing the same shit again and again, so you start to go a bit crazy on the different requests you can have to your coaching staff, for example. But having the lane swap forces you to think about something, to rethink this game. You've been playing tens of thousands of games, and is it going to work? Is it not going to work? And like Dylan, I've been there, you know. He was forged in the fire of lane swap. Like you do remember. Were you coach or casters when we had lane swap?
I was coaching, so I was coaching back then. Like I go. Do I even go further back than Dylan in that case? Because I was
Probably.
we were even lane swap back then 2015, 2016. Like Splice, we were known for it. Up until playoffs where they nerfed it, where we had to play against H2K. So I've been around the block. I even played back in the day, season 1, 2, 3.
So you were players?
I was player and then coach during lane swap.
Wow, so cool! You had both. So man, so cool. So you saw the whole evolution of it. So and it was interesting, yes, to have Dylan remembering the stuff and Caps as a player, and then you could see the younger one not really knowing what to do, and it forces good communication as early as minute. Second one, you have to speak a lot at the first beginning of games because you need to set up to understand, to react and stuff, and it's never the same. It's never the same because it's 5 people's decision versus 5 people's decision, and everything is deeply connected. So it was fun. It kept us focused a lot for sure, and we won the split versus a really strong Fnatic. I have to say. So it was interesting for sure, and we were happy because we didn't troll again. Like we did last year, where we felt we were the best team, but we couldn't focus on the right day, so Mad Lions and Rogue got us. This time, no, we won till the end, didn't drop a game, and then we were ready.
Oh, that's interesting. That it worked that way. It's like I can imagine that, like just lane swaps bring this idea that you practice things that will always occur, and I think there's a beauty in that, right? Because often you reach the point where sometimes scrim sets can be very loose and frivolous, and then sometimes you see new scenarios play out on stage and you have to take the lessons from the stage games. But it's interesting that I didn't see it from that point of view. Like I think everyone from outside just viewed it, oh, they are expanding on this new idea, and this is probably something that they're going to leverage heavily into MSI. But because that was like the main, I guess, the challenge what I viewed for you guys. It's like, how do you actively prepare for MSI within a region where the stimulation might not be like the greatest in terms of practice in comparison to the other regions? You mentioned the ISMA, the beginning where you guys restarted your thoughts, but how did you carry? Did the practice carry differently? Did you guys do things differently, knowing that you're preparing for MSI in unison with it?
No, we were practicing because I think in a weird way that's a mistake we also did last time. Is when you start to be too much in the future, you forget about the present and you forget about the game you have to play now, and those are the games we have to win. And I think in a way it's a bit the different approach we're taking for 2024 is we don't want to win worlds. We win everything happening in front of which is going to happen in front of us. So really a lot more in the present, which I think is a nice way to fight versus underestimating someone, or because when you underestimate, you expect to win. So you're already projecting yourself in the next day. You're not focused on Saturday game because you're going to win anyway. So in your head, you're already, okay, what I'm going to do Sunday. But then you're dividing your attention in a way. If it's T1 on Saturday, you don't really think about Sunday, you know. It's like, am I in a plane or am I still on stage? So, so it's. I think it's important to stay in the present, and that's why we focus mainly on winning spring. Because if we were mostly preparing for MSI, maybe we should keep lane swap. You know, maybe we should not use it versus anyone, and we only use it to suddenly get a game from a T1 or someone. But no, the focus was we need to beat everyone. It happened to us last year. We sometimes disrespected, not even realizing it, but we disrespected enemy teams, and then you drop games because you're not 100%. If you drop games because they're better, good for them. But if you drop game because it's your fault, it's a bit more annoying. So staying in the present was really important, and MSI happened to be on a quite similar meta, so we were happy because a lot of the practice we did could carry easily on to MSI, including the lane swap and all the knowledge we gathered and all the practice we did around it. So yeah, no, that was stay in the present. And then, MSI arrives, good.
All right.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I maybe I'm finding connecting dots where they are not, but I noticed in a Broken Blade interview where he, like often, like players, they have the habit of talking down teams that are worse than them. That's like the part of the culture, right? But I've always seen it as to do so is to remove your spirit from a point of being humble, where if you talk down on someone, you kind of disrespect your own effort in a way. And in this race, where everyone's running towards the same goal, you don't know who is going to pick up speed in the end, right? And you need to keep running as fast as you can because you don't know who is kind of breathing down your neck. Is this something that BB has always been, or is it something that you guys together have found kind of this mentality?
I think he had his ups and lows last year. I mean, he's been part of the adventure with us from the beginning, right? From this specific roster, and even the one the year before. So we've had moments where he was extremely good. We had moments where he was not as good, and we discussed it. And it's important to keep yourself accountable. So you feel, maybe right now I'm losing a bit of speed. Maybe I need to do other stuff, and it takes a lot of balls and adultness to realize, okay, I'm gonna do it. And BB has been taking all the right steps for months now, and it shows. And he's been smurfing it, so it's good. He had 1 or 2 games where on specific matchups the guy in front of him got his ass. That's true, that happened. So there's still place to grow, more to work, which is good. Is when he's a matchup he's good at, he's fucking good at. So and he shines with it. So I think BB is a really nice example of excellent growth on a player over the last year, and he's the captain I think he is. It's been good. It's been good.
All right. Now I noticed I like it a lot in the huddles that he speaks to his teammates, because I think that is the most effective way to do it, because he is going to ride into war with them, so to speak. And
He's good at that.
I think that when you speak from a position where you can act on it too, I think it's a lot more impactful. It's like as coaches, we can act a certain way, but in the end, the players need to play.
We're not there. We will never. It doesn't matter your job as staff, from analyst to manager to coach to performance, whatever. If you're not there once the game starts, so nothing will be as good as a player taking over ever. Because when the World Final Game 5 is going to start after the pick and ban, it's only you guys on the Rift. Only just the 5 of you with your 5 voices. So you can complain that someone else could have done the job. At the end of the day, if you do it, it's faster, right? So and practicing it makes it more real. And Bibi's been really good with his words for sure. But it's also something conscious. He knows that's one of his strengths, so he's using it. He's practicing it, and it's great.
Was this something that you saw, like the first year with BB? Was it intentional, or was it something that just grew because this is what he wanted to be?
The first year, Jankos had this job in a way because he was the oldest, and he's someone which is really nice. He really wants to help and protect, and he had this a bit of a father/captain approach on all the other players, which was really nice to interact and to work with as management. But once Jankos was gone, we of course had this question: who can step up and be this? Because we need someone. We can pretend not, but I believe it's easier. So if someone can be the most adult of the 5 in a weird way, or the one willing to fight against, because that's a position which Mickey could challenge sometime, for example, because he's also a bit more like that. He would protect and help the other players. But yeah, I think for BB it was we discussed it with him, and someone needed to take over the team hurdle and represent with humor the rest of the players. And
Yes,
if it's he's really good, and he's socially clever, so he knows how the room is going.
No, for sure, for sure. I've had I had the pleasure of I entertained the idea back in the 2020 off season leading into 2021, where we were entertaining the idea of sending Bippo into mid and then bringing BB over, and I had a very brief call with him, but I got the impression that this is a person that. Is very, very humble and will go far based off of that attribute alone in terms of his career trajectory. It seems like a person that really is a sponge, for experience.
No, he can be, of course. Yeah, he's also really good, and he knows it, which is what makes his Godfather stuff so good. Godfather, like, and him and Flackhead were probably.
I only had 15 minutes with him, so.
Yeah, he's really kind. We always poke a bit his ego to make sure he stays in check, with a lot of love, of course.
So I mentioned I appreciate the idea of making sure that every game you put weight behind it, and you approach everything with a mindful respect towards the competition. I like that approach a lot. In regards to considering how different winter is from spring, just because it ties so neatly together with MSI, like you guys went to boot camp and so forth. In terms of you mentioned that you guys kept yourself very, very stimulated and made the scrim days very exciting because of course, you are approaching this new topic and everything is so fresh and everyone needs to be engaged. But in regards to making sure that you peak at the right time, what were some things that you put in place already from day one, so to speak, going through the LEC split? Because you need to peak, right, when you play the final match.
I think the easiest parameter we can work on to challenge the amount of energy you would spend in a day and separating it into at the beginning of the split you maybe need to give a bit less, and at the end you need to give a bit more. I think one of the easiest metric is the amount of solo queue, for example, which is something we discuss as team, and how many you think you should be doing per day, per week, and that which as a staff we can challenge and make sure the whole schedule is adapted in a way where players have time to do those amount of solo queue, and the requirement, because we have the metrics from the other years and stuff, and usually the correlation between an increase of solo queue close to playoff and winning, it's better, right? Rarely you stop completely playing the game and suddenly you win a lot on stage. Of course, there's probably examples of it, but usually if you're about to play a big football game, you're probably going to work on your cardio, right? And more intensively closer to the game. So by that's a bit the same here. And I think that's, all the stuff, all the blocks we have of schedule, if you get closer to playoff, you need to be more intense on them, because that's when you're going to have to be peak performance, which is ideally in the middle of playoff. So, and the transition, at least at the LEC level, between the best of one and the best of three, because you're not facing 3 teams per week anymore, but only 1 or eventually 2. You have to prepare for best of 3, so both sides, red and blue. And there's a new patch, which really cut. So it's a nice acceleration to say, okay, we've done best of 1. There's a new patch, which is a perfect time to do all those meetings about the meta, but what's going to be played and everything. So the first week right after is usually really, really important to accelerate, as we would say. Time to accelerate, mid of the split. And MSIs, I would be right. I mean, you should accelerate before MSI, after the first game, after second game. So, but this constant acceleration, you want to be able to do during an international tournament, you need to have it conscious at home, so you can replicate. Okay, what does that mean to accelerate? That means maybe start a bit earlier, maybe eat a bit less this specific stuff, maybe do a bit more games in the morning, maybe. What does that mean to accelerate? Yeah, that's what we have to really assess during an LEC season, so we know how to replicate it at international event.
Okay. Very interesting. So just a steady ramp up over time, where I imagine then MSI was the most intense period. So regardless of the outcome, the players have earned their brief rest before the summer split.
Yeah, it was intense, but we wanted it to be intense. The whole MSI was where I have it. I literally just fucking posted it. Should be here. Ding, ding, ding. That's a nice kiddo. I'm proud of the boys on this one. They really followed it up.
I'll
But
pull it up on the screen, but keep going. I'm listening.
so we knew we were going to MSI from the beginning, which makes the life of a manager much easier, right? Because you have a whole Riot process with every team, and they start the season saying everyone's going to have to fill the visa, and week after week after week you have less and less process. So the moment you are qualified for MSI, from a Riot perspective, they don't have to do the insane work of checking everyone instantly because they did the pre-work before. So and if you're like 2 weeks before the end of the season, everyone needs to have filled the visa stuff. If you're the week before, everyone needs to have gone to the visa agency, drop everything. So that means for sure there's like 2 teams which are going to do really pain in the ass work to fill all the visa, go to the visa agency for nothing. It's really annoying. And then Riot covers only for 8 people, and then usually you travel at 10 or 11, so you need to do it on your side for the other people, especially in a country like China. So this one was a bit annoying, but at least I did it with a smile because I knew somewhere my fellow managers, GM and stuff had to do it. So I was like, yes, not us. And it makes life a tiny bit easier on those. And then there's a question on when do you go? So Riot is nice because they can book you whatever plan you want in terms of time. You just have to tell them when. And there's a maximum limit date, which is in this case right before you enter the tournament. If you enter directly in plane, you have to fly earlier. If you enter main group, you have to fly later. It's a 1 week difference. So from my perspective, I wanted to go. I picked one date and decided we're going to go at this date. And if we have to go planes, then we're going to have to switch to the Riot Hotel really quick. If we don't, then we have 10 days of a bootcamp, which is nice. You can find partners in China. Wrong superpower of League of Legends. That was last year. So through IG Dota, we have a partnership on Dota with the ITG2.
Okay.
Found some contact and stuff, so they help us to find one place, and we spend 10 days in a really nice esports hotel.
Oh,
Every
wow.
room had like two high-end computers with all the games in it. So we rented like a few rooms, and 2 big ones. One was where we practice, one to review. And those rooms had bunk beds. So that means if you're with a bunch of friends, you can rent the 5 PC room directly connected with 5 bunk beds, and you can grind MMO for a full week. You know that's like a nice little deal. But yeah, so we spent 10 days there, which was good. So that was our first. When we arrived, Liquid, FlyQuest, we played BLG. We had to do a media day for the LPL, which is nice because it gave us an opportunity to visit the city while shooting content. It's good. One stone, 2 birds. This way. No, that's it. We did a bit of press and stuff. So this was a really good week and a necessary week to get used to a few things. First one, the most obvious, jet lag. It's around 1 hour per hour. You moved. Yeah, fuseau horaire is a French word. So China is 6 hours difference.
Yes.
So if you don't do anything before, you will need 6 days. You can start to adapt your sleep schedule before that, which most of the boys did. Not all the staff did, at least not me consciously. So I paid the price a bit on the few first days, where most of my boys actually were a bit more troopers. But so that was the first big stuff where we had to adapt. Second is food. It's different, right? You don't eat the same food. You don't cook the same. They put more spices everywhere. So you have to readapt your daily life, especially because we pay so much attention to food. Sleeping schedule, solo queue. The solo queue was really interesting because we're on the west of China and we didn't have direct access to Riot server called Yonia. When they have a big event like that, they create a specific server. I think this one was specific, but at least that's the only server we could connect, because in China you have many servers.
Yes.
So we had to connect and play on the super server. Our account were not at the exact ELO instantly, which is a super classic on international events. So as per usual, we went to complain, and then They just bumped everyone into really high elo. So suddenly, but the games were still played with like a emerald or like top diamond, but only other pro players in the game. So it was really nice. And yeah, and then the boys had fun. This whole China internet stuff with where you need to VPN to use most of our Western website, and the game is hosted on really different servers. So it was a bit of a challenge to collect data and stuff like that. Rodrigo did an incredible job with the help of Click to do as best as he could. When most of your tools are internet and how everything is connected. China makes things a bit complicated
a lot of manual
in that regard. Yeah, literally, yeah.
Yes.
But for example, to collect the solo queue, we ended up during our morning meeting. Everyone had to say, okay, the amount of champions they played the day before, which led to some funny moments, when you realize one of your players has been auto-filled 3 games in a row. So when you when you top laner, yesterday it was Kalista, so now what what happened? But that was fun, and yeah, one way to collect this data. And yeah, same for the guys to watch a lot of VODs and China is a really different country, so it's really fascinating to walk around the hotel, and we don't go a lot outside a lot, right? We geek at the end of the day. But the few interaction we had with normal life, real life, outside life were fun. The guys loved it.
All right. Like, I guess the main thing that comes to my mind, right, is this is the second MSI with this group. Last one was in Europe.
Yeah.
Was it better? How was the experience? Like you mentioned a lot of the differences, but how do you feel in terms of preparing for the competition? How was it the positive impact, negative impact? How was the experience for everybody, and how different was it from last year?
I think everyone liked it. Last year, the main difference was London. We went through play-ins, so we didn't have time for a bootcamp. We arrived and we were right in it, which is it gives us also good stuff. Is for example, the stage, the backstage, you already know the whole back and forth, the whole ballet of things happening on game day, which lowers the stress you will put on the game. And you've played on stage and you won on stage, of course, usually. So if you finally make it to groups. So we had this experience more. And London is really similar to Berlin in terms of how you live, speak. You understand everything around you, which is definitely not... It's grey outside, the cold in the middle of what's supposed to be spring, summer. London, beautiful. The food, Jesus Christ. But no, so that was on that was different. But at the same time, because we were so conscious of the thing which we could have done better in London, in terms of how much you have to implicate yourself in your solo queue, in the level of feedback you should keep yourself accountable. If you see a challenge, you have to address it much faster, either in draft or in strategies or stuff, because if not, it can snowball really fast on stage. So I think we did a better job at being honest, because we knew how things could happen, and it was really important to show up the moment you step on stage, which is something we failed a bit last MSI. We choked a bit versus Genji, for example, which sent us to really, really bad in the tournament, this kind of game. So in that regard, we worked harder for this first bootcamp, and we were more ready, I think, which could, in my head at least, translate into better result on stage, because the bootcamp was of a better quality.
Okay.
Despite being in a more hostile environment, because we're missing some of our basics which we have when we are at home.
Something that I would tie into this, and also of course the rest of spring, is like, do you know in total like how many off days you guys actually had?
During the bootcamp?
Like in total, like let's say only during MSI, I see there's barely none, unless you count the press day.
During MSI, I can tell you it's 0.
I don't know, but like most people don't count press days as rest days, right? It's like
that is definitely not a rest day. I can tell you that. I can, because I have a full calendar of the whole year, of course, and I mark the off days in gray. So since 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
In gray. This is psychological factors like that. We don't want gray days.
Oh, really? That's it? Yeah. So today is my off day number 29.
Off day number
Since the 1st of
29.
January.
Since the 1st
Yeah.
of January, okay.
Yeah.
I thought first since spring. I was like, oh, really?
No, so that's off day 29. You have to keep in mind that we don't have weekends.
Yes.
That's, you know, really well.
Of
So a normal person would have by the same time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17. Yeah, 18. So 18 fois 2. I'm not really good at math, so I'm gonna use actually my computer. Thank you, technology. So 36. So just with weekend, no, usually you get 36. So we got 29. So if you didn't get any day off since the 1st of January, you still had like a full week of a day off more than us. But it doesn't feel like it. That's the beauty of it. is like I don't feel like I've been deprived from day off. You know, even if literally mathematically speaking I have. But it's just it was so cool. We have to restart now, and we wanted to restart. We want to start working again because there's a new patch, there's a lot of new stuff, and we learned a few things, you know, which we want to do again, and we don't have our ticket for Worlds. That's why main reason to go back to work. You know, we want to be able to fight those guys again, both in scrim and on stage, because they punch the hardest. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course.
They punch the most precise, maybe not the hardest, you know. So yeah, we want to get on that level. So yeah, not off day off. But if you lose, you have a lot more. A lot more. So in League of Legends, you don't want day off.
That's why I like the fact that they are gray, you know. It's like we want to avoid these. They need to be intentional.
Yeah.
Not
the other colors are like yeah. I have a media day in red, for example.
Oh.
And the scrim day in green.
Nice.
Game day blue, you know, way much shit. So yeah.
I like that.
I'm happy.
I wanted to ask in terms of it's like usually it's like we had this conversation the last time too, in terms of like break days. It's like sports athletes in terms of how they recover, they do ice baths, they do massages, whatever. In terms of like how the off days are being used, I imagine you guys are playing solo queue, they sleep a little bit longer maybe. Is there anything that you guys have implemented that would be a sense of active recovery to make sure that the off days are as clean as possible?
Isma made it a personal campaign last year to make sure the boys know it's conscious that good day off leads to good training. Because if you do something the right way for like 6 days a week, and on one day you fuck it up completely, then the next day is fucked as well. So if you fuck that up on Tuesday, which are usually our day off, then your Wednesday is going to be much more tricky, and the first practice in Wednesday is going to be lost, and we have only 3 days of practice a week, so it's not ideal, right? So the question is, what is a good off day? What do you need to do? And it's going to be different from one player to another. As long as it's conscious, it's good, you know? So he would start the Tuesday usually with measurements. So he comes to the gaming house and he weights everyone like for the amount of body fat and stuff. And he follows it every week. So the players can see all their good habits actually have a direct translation in their physique, in their weight, in the breathing stuff. Most of the boys have a watch as well.
Oh, okay.
So like smartwatch, so they can track the sleep, stuff like that. So that's how he would start the Tuesday, which forces everyone to wake up at a decent human time, even if it's a day off. And then the rest of the day depends what people want to do. It's probably good if you play some solo queue, especially if you don't play during the rest of the week. But some players really like to have this day a bit more off, like BB, for example. So he would play more during the rest of the week. So he plays a bit less on his day off because he's doing other stuff. As long as it's conscious and you don't arrive like a zombie on Wednesday.
Okay.
So yeah.
It's for us. We've seen it too many times where the first day of practice is absolutely atrocious. It's been a plague on scrims.
Yeah, people are half sleeping and yeah.
Because always the off day, it's like people take it too literally. That's why I chose to change the language of it to recovery day, and probably changing the color to gray is a good move, because that's the day when players, they sleep 6 extra hours. They decided to order the best burger in Berlin, and
it's more for holidays. Even if technically you should also be conscious about recovery during your holidays. I think we have a step challenge for these holidays. The last one in winter, we had a step challenge already. And for the little story, Caps ended up washing his watch, so he got a sudden plus 20,000 steps in one activity.
Intentional or
But
unintentional?
no, unintentional, but he discovered something, you know. So the same holiday, so he started to skyrocket in the ranking, and I would usually end up first or second with Isma, and I make it a personal challenge, you know, that there's no way the players are going to catch up on me. But for whatever reason, Caps went for those consistent 15, 20,000 steps a day. And we were like, do you keep washing your fucking watch every day? You know, are you cheating? No, but you're going to see, guys. And like when we came at the end of the race, Loki, he just disconnected his watch for like 24 hours. So then he could put all the steps on the last day. And so what happened for him during those holidays is he was walking between one of his house of his brother or something, he wasn't family, and he had to walk an hour a day. So the little animal ended up with the biggest amount of steps from everyone. Congratulations to him for winter. But I doubt he's going to be as efficient this break.
Okay.
First because it's shorter, and because I think he's staying in Berlin. Should be somewhere behind those walls playing solo queue.
That's
Watching
smart
Star
to
Wars,
turn
I
it
think.
into a competition. That's very, very smart.
So, you know, step competition, put your hand in the washing machine, your watch in the washing machine.
So, back to MSI, the Scrim practice.
Yeah.
You guys were the Scrim World Champion the last time around. Now the results were a little bit more varied. How did practice feel? What was different? Did you guys
really good?
Just dynamic across the board? Because last time you didn't have too many complaints about it. You guys were dynamic. You weren't playing only the same champs over and over again to gain Scrim, you know. So
I mean, we scrimmed the same way, right? Maybe a bit more conscious about how much we show or not versus the Asian teams. So we don't expose ourselves too much, and we learn same level as them. So Scrim went well. We started with a lot of US team because it was the first one to arrive, which was nice. Liquid, for example, have always been a really good Scrim partner. Even if we win most of the games because of some end game shenanigans, but usually the early game and mid games were always really cool. So it was a nice way to start. And then the more we dived into MSI, the more first a lot of people start to leave. And then the more you have access to the Asian teams, and then you can stream the Chinese and Korean team. As per usual, we lose more to Korea than China. Probably due to play style. I'm not even sure actually. That would be a question for the Dylan and Rodrigo, but there must be some explanation there. The last 10 days of scrims was just insane, you know. When you have a week like BLG, TS, Fnatic, and I mean, so on the last week, that's the first time we beat Fnatic in a while. They had our number the whole beginning of the first 2 weeks for sure. We also played a lot of lane swap versus them, which we intentionally did not practice versus the Asian teams, which was a good idea from Dylan. So they don't, because despite the system being quite similar, regions don't really do it the same. So we wanted to discover on stage both ways for them and for us how they would play it rather than on scrim. So we mostly practiced it versus Western teams. And Fnatic was extremely good at beating us with it on most of those days. Which fair, it's probably the team we've played lane swap the most against across all, if you count the whole end of spring and stuff. They played really good. Props to them. A bit sad for them, they couldn't translate it on stage, you know. That would have made sense from our perspective. At the end of the day, if we're happy we were the best performing European team, but that's always the same, right? They got our numbers. The rest were really back and forth. The combo T1-1-4 into Genji 1-4 was actually really good, I think. So by the end of MSI, right before we start. So we think we're good because we had those close day, BLG close. We won a bit more versus them, but they were doing other stuff. The TS, the Fnatic, even the Fnatic 3-1. feels reassuring in a way, because the two last time we meet them, it's 0-4 and 1-2 the week before. So we're like, yeah, we're good versus some teams, but how can they still crack us that open? That's a bit concerning. So winning versus them right before the T1 game was also a bit good, because it proved some of our specific techniques were working. Then the 2-3 T1, which is sad, of course, but still 2-3 T1, right? So we haven't faced a Korean team for like months. And we get 2 games. We don't know the exact level in the competition. They had play-in, yes, but they were quite dominant there. So yeah, no, we were sad because we lost, but it felt closer than the 3-0 or 3-1 we had from Genji. Exactly as a game at MSI as the year before. So we were happy with that. And maybe a pinch too cocky, because like everyone suddenly was like, "Oh my god, you guys are so good!" We're like, "Yeah, we got 2 games," but it's not even a full series, but calm down, humble, And so as a team, we made it conscious, guys, like we have to calm a bit. I know a lot of people are praising you, not all of you, by the way, because poor little Hansito was getting a lot of bad messages from some hardcore fan, which is one way to keep your ego in check, you can take it like that.
Sorry,
so
what did you say? Tonacito? Who's this?
Hansito.
Sorry, bro, I missed.
No.
I missed something out here, bro. Hansito, okay. Forgive me.
No, Hansito. I put some O at the end of. I think it's something left by Flacket Tetoncito,
and putting
the O at the end of thing.
How did he get into the picture?
Hansito, no. I mean, ADC as well, but no, he got after the T1 game, he got some hate due to some narrative on some stuff. But on Saturday, the way we lost to T1 that day was good. Okay. It was good from a mental perspective, because I think they were a bit unhappy because they dropped 2 games to G2. So if you put yourself in their shoes, that's the beginning of the main part of the tournament, and they're supposed to smash these Western teams. We just did really bad at Worlds. We know a bit one another, but from their Korean perspective, we still dust on their shoes, so they have to push it a bit. And we still got 2 games. So I can imagine the Reddit Korean version being a bit mad at them. So having us the next day on Scream, this Scream was booked way ahead, They needed to remind us a bit, boys. You got us a bit yesterday. Remember who's the king? So the little 1-4 was good. On the same day, our dear brothers of Fnatic are getting eliminated by North America, which is a sad day, as always, when a European team loses to North America. And it's also, for us, a pretty fresh reminder of our recent PTSD when we got outed by NRG. So we're like, yeah, good reminder. Thanks, guys. So by the end of Saturday, we're in a really focused, oriented mode. That, guys, this tournament, we need to work really, really hard. Let's go. VOD, are we ready? Tomorrow is PSG. Everyone is telling you, after what you did to T1, of course you're going to win. Bro, calm down. So really good humbling on Saturday leading into Sunday. So I believe a bit of the reason why we were so sharp on this day was because we got a pretty fresh reminder of to give 100%, break the enemy nexus, whatever happened. Don't fool around, don't throw the game. You kill. You're out for blood. So yeah, I think there was the following of events there.
Okay. There's like a weird pattern where, like, you guys had the 4-3 day against, of course, Genji, and then leading up to the series. Yeah. There's a pattern where you guys lost scrims and then you dominated, but is this just circumstantial, or is there something to it?
It's the same happening. So 3-0 PSG, really good. Everyone really proud of us. We are proud of ourselves. Into 1-4 Genji, I think it's good as well. I think there was an excellent handling as well. Same process as for the Saturday, because we're still learning a lot from those games. We're trying stuff. We're trying different meta shit. We know we're good mechanically because we've proved it on stage. So it's more. I remember those days being a lot of really good rock scissors paper in terms of meta, and yeah, if you use the paper into the scissors, it's not going to go well. The Genji games were a bit crazy on Monday. I won't disclose too much, but they tried some shit, and it worked. They tried one of those champions. He made a recent interview about it in the jungle, saying they couldn't push all of those champions. Maybe you've heard it, maybe not.
The Shaco.
A little drugstore didn't say anything, but maybe we got our ass kicked by this one on this Monday. Which is always a good. It has a little touch if you lose to some really spicy stuff like that. I remember us losing some games to Keria Poppy support, but like I think 2 years ago, when we bootcamp for the MSI, I remember Tagama and Flacket being a bit triggered by the Poppy support back then because she had nothing to do there. But still, when the guy picks it and wins with it, they're like, bro, really? Are you that good? You motherfucker. So this changed it, but good humbling, you know. Right before going versus CES, you're like, we have to stay sharp. And then the Wednesday versus Genji, I think we won the whole first block and they won the whole second block. And same, the drafts were really exotic on both sides, but they click. And the last Thursday, we couldn't find Scrim because most of the people left are like eliminated, your direct opponent, or playing. Because on this day, Genji and I don't remember, BLG were playing, I think.
Yes.
So we couldn't find Chinese team to practice versus because the new patch hit. And they have their season to prep, you know.
Oh.
So they didn't want to play on this patch. And yeah, we couldn't. We almost ended up playing some games versus a team made with Uzi.
Yeah.
But it was a bit complicated. It didn't work. Riot said no because we tried to maybe stream things or not, which I really understand. It made absolute sense regarding the date was and stuff. So yeah, it was mostly solo queue and VOD. I think we were ready. Of course, maybe we could have changed some stuff on draft and stuff like that. But I think we showed up at maybe 95% of our capacities on game day, 95, and they were expected to show at 70, you know, because they showed some weird plays versus Liquid. They showed up at 105, you know, or even 100, which is maybe 100. That's like 10 more than us. But then more a lot, you know. You can win early games and stuff. Those team fights, they were just better, and on some specific matchup, they were just better. So yeah, it's okay-ish to lose that way. It's frustrating, makes me unhappy, of course, but it's okay, fair, fine. See you next time, you know. We gave a fight. I would have loved like maybe a bit more than 0-3 fight, but
just for comparison's sake, if you put a percentage to some of the performances during like the World Championship, like the NIG series, if you put a percentage on that series, do you think it was a big part of the performance of the day, or was it an accumulation of, let's say,
I think we showed up. We showed up at 70 on that day, 75, and NRG showed up at 100.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So, which was 105 maybe even, because some of them it looked like they were extremely happy. Same kind of happiness when you beat a team where you expect to lose, because you've been branded underdogs from the beginning. So yeah, and they deserve it. That's what I want. I want to have one of those days. You know, I think if we had beat T1, yeah, maybe that would have been what you feel. Fuck, we were good. We did it 100. And because those guys, the LCK and LPL team, they can bleed. If we have the right setup, the right draft, and a lot of the right timings in our mid game and the right end of the game call, we can win. We need to match the micro as well. Yeah, of course, if someone does a big mistake, we're probably going to lose. Be the same for them. We can only control a lot of those variables, and then yeah. Sometimes they don't show up. I'm happy Genji is finally showing up, you know. It's good, a new contender. In a way, if I have to be eliminated, T1 is good as well. Thank you, Faker, you know. The GOAT.
No, of course. Now in regards to, it's still very, very early on in the reflection, right? And you guys are still, you know, the year is far from over. You're enjoying your off time now. What are some let's say, reactions you might have had during the boot camp or during the preparations, like, oh, we missed this out, we're doing this too late, or basically lessons that you would, let's say, if you had the Hermione watch, we could turn back time. What are some of the lessons that are the big takeaways that you could share, of course?
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job with this bootcamp because we didn't encounter any major logistic issue. We finished with everyone healthy, which was really important for us because good health, the moment you step on stage, we believe is a big part of what costed us Worlds 2023. The capacity to enter at like 70% on stage. For example, you can decide to complain about it. You can call it unlucky. At the end of the day, it's your responsibility as an athlete to show up on stage with the right physical capacities, because you're already going to have to fight your own brain. And you see that happening a lot at the Olympic or in traditional sport. They can prepare for like years, months, and sometimes on the day they break a leg or something. So unlucky. How much of that with luck? How much was anxiety, stress, stuff like that? How much can you control? Probably not everything. Luck will always be involved, but I think we did a good job at limiting it, at least, because the boys were conscious about it, and everyone has been putting more emphasis on their health, the amount of time they trained, what they eat, so you have less risk, and how many times you wash your hands, how like you follow some stuff like that. If someone is sick, instantly you put a mask, which is stupid, right? Should be the basics, but let's make it conscious. So those are really the basics, and yeah, no one was sick. Yeah, we had maybe one player with a mask, 3 occurrences of it for one day because they were feeling a bit sick, but that's it. It's important. We were really conscious with food and also stuff. And yeah, no one. Maybe people are sick right now. I don't know. I have to check on everyone. But tournament is done, right? So we survived, and that was really important. That's good. And in the other teams, like you can see in the picture I shared at the bottom, you have the cancel table, and we had only 3 cancel, and those were a 1 game cancel. So you just cancel the last one, which from all the cancel is probably the easiest one to manage, right? And every time it was because of a sick player. So which at international event is a norm, the amount of sick people you have, which makes sense. You just extracted from your country, you enter this new big environment where everyone is from different places. You under a lot of stress, you're jet lagged. You don't always have the healthiest habits sometimes, so that's why you get sick, of course. You cannot afford to get sick at MSI. So yeah, I think on that regard, the bootcamp was really good. On the prep side, I would have liked easier solo queue. We can't really control that. So not having to use this server, for example. The rest was fine, I think. Things were controlled. We were helped a lot by a G2 employee on site called Kyaokshu.
Okay.
Probably mispronouncing her name, but which really made our life super easy when it comes to food and this kind of logistic stuff. And overall, every person we met was super helpful. So it was really easy bootcamp. Things were going well. Good adventure, not as successful as we wanted it, but good learnings. A lot of good scream. A lot of humbling, always good. And yeah, I mean, the week, imagine if we had started winning, the craziness of the weekend it would have been. T1 into BLG into Genji with TES on the 4 best Asian teams in 6 days. Korean and Chinese team in 6 days. If you win that, it's legendary instantly, we didn't. All right, but the dream was there. We hoped. We said, "Fuck, it's now. Let's go, guys." Wasn't legendary.
As a spectator, I like just from as a person who really just loves competitive League of Legends. This was like probably the most competitive tournament we've ever had due to the nature of the format, double elimination. It was
nice,
honest and very brutal, which for competition is lovely.
It's good. It's good. What's the format for Worlds? I don't even know.
It's basically the Swiss draw. Okay. You have like every elimination qualification match is best of 3 and the
same
D1s.
As 23 then.
I believe so. Yeah, the Swiss stage into single elimination, and then you pray to the luck gods sometimes, depending on how far you can go. But
always, and the right meta, the right. But it's in Europe this time, so it should be an advantage for the European team. Less cultural shock, less. I hope so.
I wanted to ask, I guess, I lost my initial idea, but this is also a very, very interesting direction. Would you want to boot camp outside of Europe ahead of the World Championship? Because I know, for example, Caps was on G2 2019. This was a pain point for them because when the Korean teams and the Chinese teams would land, it's like you would play catch up. Is there any intention there, or has this thought crossed your mind at all?
It's been an ongoing discussion amongst staff and with players, and I think we are going to stay in Europe.
Okay.
The main reason is you avoid facing a double jet lag, double uprooting yourself from your perfect classic home environment to go compete somewhere else to practice and then to come back. Because realistically, if you look at the logistic around it, even if you fly, people need to take a bit of time off after the final. Not a lot, but at least a week is good because we're about to start non-stop from beginning of June to end of August. So I want them to have a bit of time off, to breathe again, and also to disconnect a bit from the game so they come back hungry and they're not burned out from the game, which is really important. You really don't want to be burned out from the game right before the beginning of Worlds because you're going to have to spend the shit out of solo queue. This acceleration we were discussing last time, well, it starts much earlier at Worlds. So I need people to still be a bit hungry, then we have to pay content day price because you're about to start a new internal campaign, right? You probably have a new jersey, you have a lot of stuff, so you need to give 3 to 4 days of content, ideally not back to back. So it's half a week gone and half a week gone, and then you can start your bootcamp, which is usually going to be 10, 15 days. To travel to Korea or China, you're going to need 1 day to travel and then probably 5 to 6 days to get used to time difference. You should have better scrim because you have more teams, but usually only the one who survived the year are staying. The other one are in the middle of off-season because it's September. So realistically, you can scrim maybe 3-4 Korean team, maybe a bit more Chinese team. But you need to level up your solo queue account, which is the biggest problem. It's going to take 10, 12 days if you want to start getting in the top master, low challenger, elo, where things get interesting, and the guy try hard the game, especially more in China because they slash FF the game so hard, unless they have a good situation at 15 minutes, because so they can maximize the amount of games they play in LAN center. But for the pro player, sometimes they like to play the game till the end, right? So it's a bit more tricky if you level up your solo queue account there. And then you're going to have to deal with the other side of jet lag and stuff like that. It increases the chances for you to get sick because you're traveling a lot. So all that counted, I think staying at home for those 10, 12 days, if we can really maximize how we handle solo queue and the different scrim we can book, and if we can maybe convince team to fly earlier, I don't know how yet. I'm down for suggestions.
I want to suggest that you have to give them incentives. Like, we have a nice facility here. You can use our chef.
No,
Isma's gonna give you guys the mindfulness.
The best plan. we need a collective effort from all the players, starting master level in Europe. If you want to help out your teams, the teams you're gonna send to World, if you want to really participate in the war effort, I need you to play solo queue and a lot of it, and the best you can. And to maximize the practice of our pro and suddenly transform our solo queue into the best in the world. So, of course, our Korean and Chinese friends are going to be interested to come bootcamp there. So, yeah, if everyone spam good solo queue in September, October, we might win Worlds thanks to our home skill, you know.
I love it.
That'd be the plan. Outside of that, yeah, we can send them an invitation. The best situation for us would have been to beat them. If we can finish this weekend of MSI as a winner, it makes the call to come enjoy our solo queue much deeper and stronger. You know, didn't happen. So only TS might be interested to come. We will need to do a bit more convincing for the other. But yeah, I think we're gonna stay. It's probably easier. So we don't force a lot of tiredness and stuff on everyone. And in 2019, which is regarded as one of our best year, they stayed here. He didn't. I mean, it's a 0-3 final at the end. If this has to be our fate for 2024 to lose another final 3-0 at the World Cup, I'll try a bit, but I'm taking it. It's fine. We're gonna deal with those tears a bit later.
Of course.
So yeah, I think we're
And
gonna
also,
stay.
G2 got whooped, right? That's what Mickey has told me. When like they got whooped in scrims, and maybe that's the best thing that can happen to you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So a bit of humbling to fight external narratives is always good for the players.
That's very good. Now I'm happy to hear that. Like there's gonna be situations where you can do everything right. I said this analogy the last time as well. It's like competition is basically, it's like you're sprinting, but you don't know what the distance will be, and you don't know how fast the others will be, right? Because you're competing against them on the day, and there's so many variables at play. Especially in a world where you make a commitment to 5 players, and everything is hanging. It's such a fragile balance, because as you mentioned, you can get sick. Something can happen, something can occur, and you need to be very resilient through that. And in the context of that, just to put like a nice bow on the MSI story, do you feel that you and your guys ran as fast as you could in this metaphorical race? And of course, in the next one, you'll be able to run faster because your legs will grow stronger. But have you run as fast as you can? Would you say so?
I don't know. I hope no. I think it was a race where we finished top 4. So if you go at the highest level of those racing guys, the difference is going to be from 9 seconds 52 to 9 seconds 54. So I want to believe we were at 9 seconds 58,
Yes.
Or 56 maybe, but those 0.02 seconds takes a lot of work. Also depend a bit on the day and stuff. Sadly, the last result I have to prove that it's 3 versus T1. Not the best, but I can tell you it felt better. It felt like we were learning. Now the next step is going to be to take the good conclusions. We had a lot of good conclusions after last MSI in London. Caps had a lot of idea, Dylan had a lot of idea, BB knew where to play the game and stuff. So those stuff were good. I hope we can extract the same level of. I hope the loot from the dungeon expedition was good, and it gets some nice XP boost, and that we can keep practicing those. So we are ready when they come back. When they come back actually, by the end of the year. So yeah, and the LSC is looking nice, right? There's some new roster, some interesting one. I want to see how the Kick-Off boys are gonna do this time.
The low budget mercenaries, the hungry ones.
Yeah, it's the hungry ones. I hope they are.
It's like always the guys that lose their spot and they're waiting for the lowest paycheck possible. I just want to prove myself, guys. They can get dangerous.
The mercenaries, the 6 months, 1 year, they're here on the PR mission,
Yes,
but
yes.
I don't care what motivates you. If it's good, it's good, Like you can turn anything into a good motivation. So.
Of course. I wanted to ask, because you mentioned Hansito, and you mentioned like the scrutiny after the first initial series. It's like, especially from you guys, G2, you guys have been the flag bearers for Western League of Legends for such a long time. And I think the G2 brand does a very good job of, let's say, managing losses in a way to make it, let's say, fun almost. It might sound crazy, but I guess you know where I'm getting at. In terms of the pressure, right? The pressure, especially like performing on the day after the T1 finals, to see Hansama bounce back and have like a very strong showing against Top Esports, against Jackie Love and Mako. I think that was like the deciding factor. How much better Mickey and of course Hans were on the day. What are the active things that you guys do to manage that pressure, especially because so much eyes are on you guys in terms of everything that you do?
Yeah, it's a lot of team job. Like it has to be something conscious as a group, because you cannot really fight those stuff alone. And our headmaster, our puppet master in this regard is Isma, and it's the job he makes to help players to understand feelings, their emotions, how things work, where are they getting recognition from, where are they getting challenging stuff from, how to follow your own path as a fighter and not dwell on excuses for too long, and are you focusing on the future, on the present? So all those stuff is helping them through, and like for Hans, for example, after the T1 game, people were really mad because he didn't buy LDR, for example, and some of them became a bit too strong in their feedback via DM and other ways. So of course it can have big impact on people, and we had to reconnect him. He had to reconnect himself, because at the end of the day, it comes from the person themselves. You cannot force them to do anything. And I think some of the nice timing in those were the feedback from the other players. I remember during the end of the meeting. So once the game is done, we go home. And we always do the same, which is we're all going to sit in a room, and then everyone's going to speak in a specific order for as long as you want, and you reflect on the day. Ideally, you focus more on what went right than wrong, which is of course easier after a win because there's a lot of hype. But the goal is to clean a bit the day. You don't do the whole game; it's not the moment. That's the day after, because this one needs to be a bit more clear. But just to make sure most of the feelings are out, this meeting is really important. And when that happened, you already had time to go back home, meaning you could have been exposed to social media, meaning you can have been exposed to external feedback on your performance during an international tournament, because after the game you have to go through all the press and all the BSI fears, backstage, social media requests. You might get home 2 hours and a half after. So for sure you've had some feedback. Sometimes it's great feedback because you just won, everyone is calling you God, it's amazing. If you just lost, this feedback can be a bit hostile. So the end of the day meeting can also tackle some of those stuff. And in the case of Hans, yeah, he also got feedback from his teammate, right? And when one of your teammates look at you and say, you know what, I don't think it would have changed. I don't think it would have changed if you had buy another item. We lost the game at those moments and those moments and those moments. Yeah, it helps you to reconnect with the mission, the team, and we discussed it. We made it conscious, so we could phrase it, and then yeah, we challenged it. So the amount of feedback you should allow from the external world. If you're happy to get a positive feedback, you know you will have to deal with a negative one at one point. But yeah, so we had those ongoing talks, and some other players helped him a lot, I think, by being a bit direct on those stuff. And as early as 24 hours after, yeah, he was back. Took some days to fully reconnect. Because yeah, he got some pretty intense message. But yeah, I'm really glad they could show on Tuesday versus TS, especially in a matchup where the whole narrative was Jackie Love is the best ADC in the world, and Hans, you're gonna get shit on, you're too bad, blah, blah, blah. Having them coming and yeah, pushing them like, oh, you guys fight all the time. All right, hold my beer. I'm going in, and oh, we won. So nice. I was really happy for them. That was good, really good management from their perspective.
That's very good. Like when the timing of everything is it's one of those things that will stick with you for a very very long time. You know, because I imagine that like confirmation of doing things when you get such direct feedback, I think it's very very impactful. You know, it sticks with you for longer.
Of course.
In terms of, I'm sure how Hans views his value structure. I'm sure there's never going to be a message again that is going to disturb him or disrupt him.
I hope not. We should never say never. You know, sometimes people find interesting ways to get under your skin. So it's part of the job. I don't want to imagine the pressure Faker and I don't want to imagine what's going to happen, what is happening right now to BLG, for example, after the loss. You know,
Yes,
I can imagine some really angry Chinese fan, even if, well, they went to a final, so not that bad. Yeah, but they have most of the time bigger fan base than European clubs. So of course, if only 0.1% of the fan base is a bit extreme, when you scale the global amount of the fans, yeah, of course, you're going to have more of those messages. So.
I always draw that up on my stream. I make this bell curve, you know, in terms of the edges, the people that hate you and love you, the most extreme, they are very loud and are responsible for the majority of the content that occurs. But the larger the fan base, the larger that group is, and they can be very, very menacing. And you see it in everything, right? It's like even
That is
in
true.
Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo conversations, or
Wow.
whether it's G2 or KC or T1, you know, it's a part of
Yeah,
I guess
and in
sports.
China, we saw a lot more of those fandoms
Oh,
because they had people waiting at the hotel all the time
oh shit.
with security everywhere, which usually happen in Korea. But yeah, in China it was even more, and it's literally Faker has a bodyguard all the time, even when he
Damn.
transit, which makes sense. Like we did an entry back to the hotel one day, one of the T1 game, and the security guy had umbrella, which is open all around you, so people don't see who's walking,
Wow.
like Rockstar, But we're there in the middle, and from the whole group, Caps gets recognized a lot, of course. The rest a bit less, but usually people they would see it's a G2 and stuff, and some more hardcore fan know, okay, that's that BBB, Mickey, icons and stuff. But yeah, so Caps gets those interaction a lot, but Faker and the Chinese guys are the next level, and we've seen security guy, giant big security guy chasing little T1 fangirls around the hotel because the girls were trying to sneak in and stuff like that. So it from a European perspective, we know it exists. It exists in football and all other big
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
To see it for esport is always a bit wow. Okay, that's how big things are here. So that makes sense.
Damn. Okay. No, that's crazy. I only saw the videos of like T1, like Faker at the airport. I was like,
Yeah, those are real.
a flight I can still look up, that's like effort that is understandable. But then this, bro. uh,
It's
like,
interesting.
like we've had like LEC road shows. There's the occasional like
Oh,
random group of people that manage to book the same hotel somehow, and they just end up being there, and they just hang around a little bit too long, but not to that extent where we would need bodyguards.
yeah, no, but some of those fans live in the hotel. Yes,
Oh
they're not
shit.
just saying, oh, we're just traveling, and they come for the event. They get a room there or like in the neighborhood, and they come every day from morning to evening. They camp in the hotel lobby or
Shit.
around the hotel just to snap pictures and give presents. Which is, yeah, it's crazy. It's
I remember even the story of like how they found out that Uzi is playing for EDG. That basically someone climbed a tree and looked
oh yes, I
into
remember. And it's
took
like
a
a pictures.
picture
Yeah,
of Uzi
I'm
speaking
not
to
surprised.
Mako. Yes,
I am not
yes,
surprised.
that's completely
They're crazy.
that's completely nuts. I hope like in terms of your connection, right? It's like your connection to the region, because it's like you guys have there is kind of a interesting relationship in terms of how you are tied to your region. You need to beat everybody else, but you want with the best intention for everyone around you to also get better. I think it's like most recently, like I noticed, it's like you guys are min-maxing everything and managing everything so well. It's like the most recent thing I remember, like you mentioned Fnatic. It's like they beat you in scrims and they fought hard, and then they like fell out in a very, very awful fashion, and their performance has been very, very up and down. I feel like the whole year they managed to get to the finals in the end, and that's a good thing, right? That's good against you guys, and then losing against you guys there's no shame in that. But then losing against FlyQuest in that fashion, and then I saw that Noah made a statement that he no longer is going to listen to anyone in social media, and it seems like there is elements of that growth. But do you sometimes have these? I guess my question comes from the point is how far would you want to help, I guess, the rest of the teams in your region, to push them in the right direction?
As much as it makes us win more at the end, it's for sure easier if we're quite behind. Not gonna lie, and the numbers are fighting against us because most of the player base is not in Europe. So the access to fresh talents and to fresh blood to create a new Faker, if this game can even support a new Faker in terms of growth. If we still have time, I don't know for how long League of Legends is going to be there. Is it going to be a World of Warcraft kind of game where it will probably always be there? Because even if the player base diminishes. They published the figures not too long ago, right, on World of Warcraft, so you can see it's still stable in a weird way, adding the right amount of new players and exiting players and stuff. So eternal game, like, is it what League of Legends going to come? Where are going to be the new players? When are we going to see the new caps, for example? Is one of those questions. So we might not have access to this giant player pool. So we're going to have to find better ways to squeeze data and creativity. Right? Yeah. So I forgot what I wanted to say. I got lost in my alley.
So we're talking about no player base data, what we can do differently to become outliers.
Yeah, I forgot what I wanted to say. The other teams. So helping and creating as big of a hive mind possible is for sure going to help us. If we end up in a situation where we start losing, I want us to lose to someone which is going to be able to win deeper than us, but not till the end. I want that to be us, right? Of course. At the end of the day, as happy as I would be to see Fnatic going to the World Final, the competitor side of me would be. I want to be the one in the team who leaves the trophy at the end, you know. But it's good if my so they're competitors, but they're also the closest human on earth, knowing what we do. They do the same job, so they are facing the same questions on a daily basis and trying their own answers. We believe our answers are better. That doesn't mean their answers are bad. So that's how you learn, right? It's a small business as well. There's a chance people from their team are going to come to our team, people from our team are going to go to their team, and so on. And that's the same for every single team around us. So it's good if we, of course, all learn how to become better. So when the other guys come from Korea and China, we can finally beat them. We don't have the method yet, obviously. If not, we would have won. But yeah, they have a better one. And I pray it's not just player-based stuff. I don't believe it is. I believe it's doable. So
there's examples of outliers, right? Where smaller populations have become the best at something. It is possible, and I made a tweet at some point during the tournament that based off of the limited knowledge I know, which is very hard to judge because we don't know what teams do, but I get the impression that you guys are, like, as a staff, the strongest one in the world. But of course, it's a very, very tough thing to measure, and also I get to interact with you directly, so it is a bit of a bias and advantage.
But I will happily take it. Thank you, Yamato. Thank you for believing in us. I am glad I convinced you. We are putting our best in it. I'm sure other teams are doing better. If not, we would have been winning everything. And I think the core of this job is just to adapt to the specific set of players you have and to keep learning with it. So yeah, I think we're still not there, We're gonna have to challenge us a bit more. But yeah, the region, I see the narrative a lot, of course, which is everyone is bad, G2 is good. It's not true. We keep it. If we stop focusing for just a tiny, we're gonna lose. It's not like the people around us are bad at all. You have some insane players, so everyone can do it, which is a scary part for us, because I would, of course, like us to win a lot till the end, right? But I know a tiny mistake can fuck things over, and even when some people are going to keep reading, yeah, but it's fine, you have caps. Yeah, that's what we thought in 2021, or at least that's what G2 thought in 2021, and it didn't end well at all. So there's a timeline where this G2 doesn't go to Worlds because we're going to lose the wrong game in the next 2 months, which would be terrible from my perspective. It's the competition. What's going to happen in the timeline where, I don't know, Vitality goes on fire, and good fire, followed by Keko, followed by SK, we end up this split 9th? Like, if we end up 9th, for whatever reason, we're sent to darkness, of course, because the expectations we've just had on ourselves, we just played MSI and stuff, and then how do you build things back? You have 1 week break, and then you play the playoff summer competition, where that's a qualifying game for Worlds. If you lose this one and the next one, you're out. 2 best of 5? It's not a lot, in a full year, so that can be extremely punishing. So
yes.
now we've to stay sharp for sure, because the competition is extremely real. And all those big words would mean nothing if we cannot even fight versus the Asian teams at the end.
I believe like now after MSI, I think it brings and gives a little bit of a different perspective on the LEC level. I would say. I think leading up to MSI, I do think that like it did seem like there is a lot of like unforced errors. There's a lot of like gameplay that was questionable as someone that views it from outside. But now looking at the continuation of how MSI, even the finals played out, it seems like there is an element of like the lane swap adds another layer of chaos, and this was something that was the most active in Europe over like in comparison to everybody else, and then bleeding into MSI. And then there is an element of risk in terms of how all of the teams are playing surrounding punishing side and playing towards side. And I feel like with that, risk has elevated, and also the unforced errors that might look like an error because we have the bird's eye view. I think tying into how MSI has played out, I can see the argument that the LEC isn't as terrible as it seemed at the end of LEC.
I agree.
I think that has been on my mind, and I think in regards to like now you're working now with the same guys, and you built off of the previous roster, of course, and like looking at the role of GM. You have taken a very unique approach, and every time I speak to you, I think that if I ever see myself in the role of GM, and that's something that I could see of, I would be hoping to work in a very similar fashion that you do, in regards to how fast teams filter out players and give up on players, and the nurturing of players. What do you think about the active 50 players that are playing in the LEC? Do you think that the right processes are happening in the other teams that you can perceive, or is it uninteresting to you because your players are set?
It's a complex one for sure, and I'm glad it is currently interesting to me, as you're saying, because I'm definitely not actively looking to replace any of the little genius we have in our team, and I cherish Lord every day for this kind of stuff, because doing off season is a really complex thing, and yeah, how are the 50s we currently have? Not all of them are good, of course. Not all of them are winning. And then it's going to be the decision from their perspective between motivation and opportunities and amount of work. And we still have 10 teams, so it gives you a nice sample of people. We have all the ERL below, where you have even more players. Are some of them too young, too old? Are some of them good enough, bad enough, only specifically skilled on one meta? Or it's going to be down to them a lot as well. How it's like going through a job for an interview. How do you make sure your curriculum is going to end up on the right desk at the right timing when the team needs the right person? Is it to be a tiny bit of network? Is it to be 100% your skill? Is it going to be opportunities, right time, right place? A mix of those three stuff at the same time. And then how are you going to be able to handle your year and the pressure and the challenges connected to losing, because everyone's going to lose at the end of the day at one point. No one has ever won every single game on a season, right? So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the feedback? How much are you waiting your ecosystem to fix the challenges you face rather than yourself directly? You see a problem in your team, are you going to wait for your manager to say something, or are you going to say it yourself as a player? And those are all stuff which can make you compete at the highest level, even if sometimes you don't click the fastest. And you can train your clicking, of course, by playing a lot of solo queue and being as much as possible in contact with the game. So I think we have a big enough pool to for sure have some talents. How do you connect them together is going to be the next question. Because if you take 5 non-speaking guy or 5, if you put 5 Buipo in one team, the communication might be a bit of a crowd, you know? If you put 5 silent players in the same team, then nothing's going to happen. One of those teams might win. You know, it's not, you don't have to have a specific kind of player in one team. Sometimes the connection click, but it would make sense to have a balance of both, right? And then you just pray for the team to find its magic, its synergy. the willingness to win together rather than just shine on your own. It can be a problem. That's a good old analogy with 5 hands and 1 palm,
Yes,
which you did on video. I remember this one. I remember this one with your big voice, which was a banger. What's his Spice Time? No, probably Mad Fnatic. I don't remember.
Not sure. I don't remember anymore either. Like it's.
For sure, you said it. But the 50 players. Yeah, I hope we're gonna keep. The ERL are a blessing in Europe. So good.
No, for sure.
I
think like I guess what I'm curious about that from that perspective. Maybe once again, it's like you have your player set. What kind of a foundation would you build out with your staff in a world like, let's say you're going through the filtering process of acquiring players? It's like you can measure the skill, you can measure so forth, but how much of the culture should be set before you actually begin the acquisition of players?
For sure, we would check a few things we learned in the past. We're gonna go for a solo queue grinder. We hope at one point in your resume you've been rank 1, because that's the level of dedication we're gonna need. How many games would you play a week? How much of your daily time are you willing to dedicate to learning and to become better as a human? Do you already have your own process? Which one of those processes are successful one? Because if it works, might work for someone else as well, how much are you willing to come into the adventure? And then because of the variety of staff member we have, I'm sure we're going to find a way to integrate them in the process as early as possible. And every year there's a reset. So next year, I know already, we're going to spend 5-6 days to build everything through workshops. Who is going to be there? I don't know. Maybe I'm even not there in a weird timeline, but I hope the people still there we would do the same. I really think big workshop at the beginning is going to help to, and then it's going to be the job of the staff to identify, okay, that could be a red flag, that could be a yellow flag. I want you to discuss those stuff. By experience, if you're already thinking like that in December, how are you going to handle this specific moment in August? Because we've been through the whole year, a lot of time. And this specific staff start to have been through the year a lot with double international tournament. So we should know all those stuff. Only Dylan went to a world final, so he's the only one who could tell you how it feels to wake up the Sunday of a world final. Caps and Mickey can describe this feeling. And Def, come on, win 2024. We have Def on board, so Def as well knows the feeling. The rest we'll have to imagine it until it happens in October, But yeah, so we would make sure this person is going to fit and is willing to learn and to bring us who he is. And it's going to be important and a really good question. What are you good at? I'm good at clicking fast. Yeah, bro. Thank you. What does that mean? And let's discuss it together. So.
Okay. Now, it seems so like I think for me personally, always whenever I joined the team, it was with the intention of working in that team forever, right? Because that at least in my mind, if you join a team, you want to have that mindset because you want to nurture every aspect of it. Like if you see yourself exiting at some point after your contract runs out or something like this, there's certain things that are going to be, for the lack of a better term, that you allow to happen, even though maybe you believe that it's strongly in the wrong direction. Because in my mind, I think you want to build out like the DNA and you want the history to be poured into the next team. So there's a kind of like a consecutive, let's say, build up on what you're doing, right? I guess in some shape or form, what I'm trying to say, I envy that you guys are building on that and adding the right people, and regardless of who is going to be there or not going to be there in the next year, the DNA will live on, right?
I hope, and that's also why I don't have any problem discussing it, because I believe it's deeply tied to specific moments, specific people, and you can never replicate twice the same situation. So that's what's going to be interesting. But the idea of joining a team and staying there, I I would challenge it. I don't want to see myself. I don't want to know what's happening in a weird way next year. It's every year. To me, it's a bit of a standalone because you're going to start with this specific group of guy, and you don't know what's going to happen 365 days after. And it's most probably going to be connected to how deep your world's run was. If you finish finals or if you don't even qualify, of course, the mood's going to be different. But then, yeah, of course, it helps to stay in the same team. So, you can dive deeper because you keep the same people, the same process and stuff. So it's better. But the idea of projecting too much in the future would scare me in a weird way. I like more the idea I'm in the present. But I see what you mean. In terms of legacies, tu mets le maillot in French. You would say you put the jersey of the club and then you become the club. But I think the fidelity maybe in esport is a bit different as well because it's not like in football where if you're usually fan of the club because the closest to you, right? And then you find for your whole life.
Yes.
In esport, you change clubs more often. We are a younger industry, and every year feels longer than in other sports, but probably it's because we're living them from the inside. So it's not too surprising. It's like a 10 years career is a really, really long career. League of Legends is how much? 11?
I think if when do you begin to count? Do you count season 1, 2, 3?
What season are we? 12,
season
I think.
14.
That's 12 years.
We're in season 14, brother.
No way! It's 14 years League of Legends already.
Yeah, 2010 was.
But yeah, the 10 years. The 10-year celebration in London was before COVID. Oh wow, that's 20. Okay, fair. Oh, I lost my math here a bit. Wow, time flies.
It does fly. It does fly very much so. I guess it's more of a it's less about seeing ahead for me. It's more about like you want to nurture every aspect of it. It's like that's your job is going to be your home. This is where you are going to invest your whole soul into. So I think you have to do it with such intensity. The intensity is what's crucial to me. It's like when regardless of what happens next year or contract runs out or not, it's like doing the work with that intensity is the crucial aspect for me. That's the main thing that I guess I draw my motivation from that place.
Makes you feel alive.
Yes.
That's for sure.
I remember,
you enjoy a day off better, recovery day better.
For sure, the great days, huh? The damn great days. I wanted to ask you because you made the post, right? You made the post in the past about like I don't remember the specifics of the post, but I remember that you made the post in regards to importing players. Could you give me a short rundown of what your sentiment was and where you're at right now?
The core idea was your winners look at the end of the race and losers look at winners. It was a busy idea. So if we're not going to beat Korea hiring Korean players, I don't believe this is the right way. I'm down to be proven wrong. If a European team wins everything with some
G2 will
Korean
never
players,
have an import confirmed on this
maybe
stream.
So that was usually the direct reaction, but no, that's not. And I've worked with Korean players before. When I was at Optic, when I was in Europe. My point was, if you want to get the best players in the world and win with it, you're probably gonna have to do it in Europe because I don't believe the best Korean players are going to play for European teams. I believe they want to play for Korean teams. So if they want to play with Faker, they want to play at home, and usually they end up looking for other opportunities because they couldn't find any at home, which is normal because it's a really, really intense and packed market. And I think when they come to Europe, they're going to face a few hurdles regarding their integration in the training process because of the cultural shock, because their whole life is going to be different. So it puts extra pressure on the coaching staff when you want to work with players from different cultures because you need to make sure, and it's your job, to make sure they're going to be happy. and to make sure you're going to lower the impact of external environment stimulus, which are going to be bad, from food to sleep to how people look at one another in the street, well, the building around you. And then, especially if you go to Korean or Chinese cultures, the simple fact it's not the same spelling. So everything is just really different around you. And when you travel in those countries, you understand the cultural shock. So you've to spend more resources to make them happier. So it puts more constraint in the team and stuff. So it's in a weird way easier to work with only Europeans in your crew. And then, we haven't won world yet, so this this stuff doesn't work. I don't remember everything. Wait, I'm gonna do. How can I find that?
I will help you.
Korean LCS. Regarding Korean imports in ULCS, got it. What did I put? From a business perspective, I remember that actually.
Okay.
That's one of the arguments, because it's harder to sell Korean players to your sponsors because they're looking for regional reach and connection. One of the first questions they ask you is, okay, we are a European brand, but we want to push the French market and Polish market and Danish market. Do you have a French player, Polish player, or Danish player? Because then they could connect to the local market. So selling a Korean player in a way is harder. So it's one reason why it's easier to go with local talent. My second point was it can be difficult for a Korean player to adapt to living. So that's all the stuff I just said. The cultural shock is usually pretty big, but it's doable. It has been done. It's just harder. And if you want to understand what I'm talking about, go live for 3 months in a really different country and you will see. Some people love that. Some people love cultural shock. I think it's cool. But I would expect a manager or a GM to be happy with this kind of cultural shock because we have to travel a lot and to be the shield for our players.
Yes.
Usually players are not the biggest fan of huge environment changes as pro player. One of my questions was, can we beat Korea if we keep hiring Koreans? I don't believe we can. Let me be clear. Import themselves are not the problem. That's because some people were telling me, you're racist, you hate Korean. No, that's not what I'm saying. I have a tremendous amount of respect for their culture and what they're doing. And I think they're doing it so much better than us that we probably need to learn some stuff from them. I'm saying if we want to beat them, we need to find our own ways, using our own culture and our own player base and those stuff, which was the whole second part of my post, which was, we need you guys. So I gave 4 advices how to get hired at the end of the day. First one was, don't be toxic. Second one, your champion pool. Third one, be team oriented. And fourth one, be smart, which was more connected to how you practice every day and stuff like that. So that was the whole point of the post, was to say we should stop hiring Korean players because we should have enough good players at home. Truth is, it might be harder nowadays than it was back then due to player base capacities and stuff like that. So I still believe we're gonna win at the end.
So you would say, because this is my point of view. It's like, my point of view is I would just look at it through the lens of like a proper evaluation. I like in my mind I would never, and I assume you're the same. Like in an evaluation of the player, you look at all of those aspects regardless of where they're from, and then you just kind of have to counterbalance and countermeasure. So there will be situations where maybe going for that Korean player is the best option, or do you think that is lazy work?
100%. No, it's doable, of course. If I don't know, an insane player comes to your team while you're looking for someone this position, I don't give a fuck when he's coming from. If he's the best player for the job, he's going to be the best player for the job. The fact he would be from Korea or China would just mean we have to take extra steps as staff to take care of him. I think what K-Corp did, for example, with having a specific staff member for Bo was a really good idea. Didn't end up working as much as wanted to, but I thought that was okay. So you anticipated the fact it might create some disconnect between the player not really speaking English, because they don't really speak English. But the same way in Europe, if you're a French person, usually you don't speak English because it's in your culture. French is the most beautiful language in the world. If you're a Spanish person or Italian person, usually have the same kind of relationship to English. Is your own language is so strong that you disregard learning English a bit. And those are connected languages. They're a bit easier for us to learn. So of course, for a Korean or Chinese player, it's going to be so hard to learn English. Like, why would they even need to learn English at the end? So you will need to find. And this game is about talking, even more now than 10 years ago. So it's going to be how much can you grab for one game and push it on the next one? Is everyone happy with the process? It's a talking game, a lot, and a clicking mostly, but there's a lot of talking as well. But it can work. It can work. It's the right motivations are there, if the right processes are there, if the right boxes are there. What matters is to win at the end. That's the most important stuff. So and the country you're from doesn't change anything. But it changes. It makes it the parameter to use different. But yeah, and Europe had winning teams with Korean in it.
Yes. Even like June, the most recent signing, it's like I think looking at LCK, I think that they are the teams are very, very slow to replace their old veterans, and that can be a very, very good thing too, because I think in Europe we are sometimes too fast to do so with the anticipation for like the next big talent. It's like how many, like you mentioned yourselves, like the next big caps. It's like they just put so much pressure, and then especially in a format that can be very punishing if you start slow, and can be punishing to teams too. It seems like a lot of GMs sometimes rush to decisions surrounding players and teams, and sometimes that process can take a very long time. And I think in that, like I remember, I think Huni went through like SKT trials. It's like Trick was also a player that didn't play just yet in the LCK, I believe, when he came over as well. Like the scouting process, maybe there's opportunity in the fact that the scouting process is a little bit more, let's say, reserved, I would say, in the LCK, in terms of having like they have like a player, if he's performing bad after performing good, he has another 2-3 years on the starting roster, and he sticks there. And maybe like I think that's the angle where if you find the hidden gems, I think that's true for wherever you're looking, right?
And then it's going to be a succession of decisions. You're starting with the rookies performing. Do you keep him? Do you praise him too much? Is it going to blow up in the air, like on the pass, or that's going to be the start of another great story or not? And some teams are going to stick to their rookie. It's going to be triple ID. They're going to stick to their rookies. They're going to win a lot. They're going to win at the beginning, not in the middle. So it's a lot like Drive to Survive with way less money. What I like in this show is you see everyone believes they're making the right decision, but at the end of the day, there's one team winning only, and anything else is considered to a different degrees a failure. And if you're 10th, you consider a lot of your actions a failure, even if maybe you did 85% of the things right. The difference is the other guy did 86, 90, and one at 98. Props to them. So how are you going to refine that? And of course, players is the most important part of a team, because that's the one clicking. How much was due to the ecosystem, the staff, and the stuff around him? How much was just the player being limited by skill, or being lazy for whatever reason, or being just a lot of stuff? So it's a lot of decisions. If you lose, it looks like a bad decision. If you win, doesn't even always mean you made the right decision, but yeah, it's life of a team, and what to do with rookies. What's your experience with those?
No, it's very varied, right? It's like I guess I can start with the experience with me. Like in my first team, I worked with Horo, and I believe you worked with Horo too. That was like my first.
We had him.
That was my first experience working with someone from Korea, and he was sharing with me a lot how Koma was working, and that was a big source of inspiration for me, and that was like a goldmine for me right in the beginning. And at the time, that team, we got auto-relegated, and I had to really, really fight to get into my next job. I basically went to the Rocket office, and I was like, guys, give me a chance. Give me one day to prove to you that I am the man for the job, because I wasn't about to, like, I didn't move to Berlin to be, like a damn fucking failure. It's like I can't just end after getting 10th, and I just caught the bug for it. But working with Horo was very, very unique. It's like back then I was very young, and a lot of things I was going through I was going through the lens of my own perspective, and I couldn't have like such a good overview because it was very, let's say, overwhelming in a way. But later down the line, we hired Mowgli for Vitality. I think the biggest miss is what you mentioned as well. Is like you have the expectation that the player performs a certain way. You bring him over in a completely different environment. He's going to react very differently. It's like Mowgli went on to be a coach, world champion with DRX, and is now on Our Life, and he's super successful because it's like we knew he was brilliant, and we knew he had good English skills, and he connected with Jizuke at the time, but. We moved him from a team where he was sitting next to, like he had two junglers behind him, always giving him that pressure. Like he was working with Spirit and Dread at the time in Africa Freaks, and he was sitting next to Keen and Kuro. And these guys would just, they are like big brothers, right? It's like in the culture, he's taken care of always. And then he comes over here and he's sitting next to Kabo Shad and Jizuke. And they work very, very hard in their own way. But that own way only works for them. You know, it's like, like Kabo, he works his ass off, goes to the gym at crazy hours. And then like he has to have a weekend where he like gets it out of the system, you know, with a little bit of like partying, you know, nothing too crazy. And Jizuke, he is a VOD studier, and he just watches VODs a lot, and then he likes to relax with some Korean drama at the end of the day, you know. And it's like, but Mowgli needed really that pressure from outwards, and he needed to be the little brother. And this took us some time to realize, and we realized like the miss as we moved into playoffs. It's like we need to adjust things, and there was a big learning, right? But I think that was like the big, I guess, takeaway from integrating any player really is like, what made this player succeed in this roster? And are we creating the same environment? What is actually making him good in this team, right? Evaluating that is so crucial.
Aligned. That's a fun part of the job, right? Trying to do puzzles with humans so we can win at the end.
And on the topic of rookies, it's like I've had a good experience working with rookies because in general, either there's like a spectrum of it, but either there is like a very, very heavy ego in the sense that everything they've done is right up until that point, or they come in with like a clean slate where they react very, very heavily to any new stimulus and they kind of adapt to that really quick. It's like Mickey was one of those guys. Back in 2016, we played like FlexQ. I played FlexQ with him and Spirit and a bunch of other guys. And we would tell us, Mickey, one thing one time. Like, Mickey, you have to do this when this happens. He's like, okay. And then he would just, next game, he would do it like clockwork. And in the span of like 4 weeks of dynamic queue, he would improve so much. I was like, okay, we're grabbing him to the team. I had the best trial period ever. I just had him in the game with me for like 50 hours. Perfect. I know this guy.
Vetted.
Then on the other flip side, right, you have that guy that everything went right. I think Adam is a good example. You know, it's like, he played LFL2, won everything. LFL1, won everything. He made Masters, everything that he touches just turned into gold. And when he came into Fnatic, you know, he had Whippo next to him. He had like me, Shaves, giving him like advice on certain things. But it's like when everything you've done is right, and these guys, you know, these old heads are telling you shit, you know, they're telling you fucking things that might contradict what you believe in, you know, there's a lot of fight there, and you need to kind of stumble before you realize that, oh, maybe what was said to me a year ago is true, you know. So
in this case, for me, it's really important that the players knows why he's so good. So it would have been interesting to know how much of it Adam, for example, in this case, had internalized. How much of it was he able to say, I'm winning because I'm good at this, and this, not just because I click faster on Darius, which I hope is not his own feedback on himself, you know. I'm sure it's not. But yeah, so because you can challenge the existing processes, especially versus older staff or players in the team. Any good movie is based on that, right? So young guys comes and challenges everyone. Are you going to challenge them with method? And do you know why you're winning and what you want to implement, or do you just want to keep doing things because you were good at it, and it worked for you, right? But now you're in a team environment. That's also why for me it's important nowadays to spend a lot of time together, so you understand how everyone interacts, and you understand, oh, he's not an asshole, he's just a weird guy. I want to win with him, so let's find a way to communicate.
Yes. No, for sure. I think that maintaining a beginner's mind is crucial, especially like in our line of work. The game is ever changing. We are still kind of like, even though there's a lot of correlation with traditional sports, we are still somewhat like, especially on your end, you are a pioneer, right? It's like you're trying to, together with your staff, find the next methodology that will make you an outlier against regions that have on paper a lot stronger and better resources, right? So the esports is still so young.
It is extremely young. We're all pioneers. The job we do this year is different than how we did it 4 or 5 years ago, because we're learning. So that's why it's so cool, and it's not going to stop. Sport is not going anywhere. So the way how we practice to get better at playing video games is going to refine itself. I hope so. Maybe we can beat Korea and China on other games later. Maybe our revenge is past League of Legends. League of Legends 2. Never, but
maybe just have to CS:GO or something. No, I'm kidding. I wanted to ask, leading into summer, I guess with everything that you've been saying so far, it seems like you guys are just gonna be maintaining and doing a lot of the same, right?
Mostly everything, and maybe 5% better, because we need to climb those 5-10% T1 had versus us, which is going to be how quickly we adapt to the meta, which is going to be how we stay healthy for as long as possible, how we make sure to perform on games where we are not underdogs. So it's going to be fun. The rhythm changes a bit at the beginning, because we play on those only 2 days a week basis. But then it's going to be summer in Berlin, right? We're all going to get cooked in our different gaming houses. Finally Munich into Worlds, I hope. The next ticket for Worlds is at the end of July. If you win the summer split, you get the first world ticket. Then it's in August, the last two remaining one. So
is it a lot of convenience again?
it's we're back home, So of course it doesn't have the same taste to scream Astralis, to say a team, so I don't offend anyone, to say a dead team, to stream Astralis, scream Astralis or Genji, of course. Genji is currently MSI champion, so we're going to meet that, but it's also motivation. If we want to practice more versus those guys, we have to win consistently at home. So let's go. It's 5 days, so let's sleep a bit before that.
Of course. I was curious about that specifically, right? Because Mickey, like when I spoke to him, he mentioned that we are not at 100% right now in terms of our level. It's gonna be okay. We just need to scrim a little bit and then rock and roll. And at the time, Mickey was speaking with the level of confidence that I hadn't seen in him before. Like I know the cocky Mickey that knows he's good. But he never had that bravado to him. That energy to him that is like, no, we're really good, by the way. Huh?
When was that?
This was before the flight out to then, of course, I believe China, right?
Okay.
So it was in the in between.
Okay.
You just said, we're gonna scrim. It's not gonna be no issue, Yamato. What the fuck are you talking about? It's like, okay, damn.
He was fine. He was correct. Looking correct.
No, for sure. Like he made me a little bit more confident than you guys, and I think through the level of play, he also confirmed a lot. So as a fan of Europe, even now being not on a team, I have that little ego saying the same thing as I don't want anyone else to win if I didn't win, because I want to win. But
course.
as an outside party, I'm very very happy to see you guys' trajectory. I think that's a key thing, like trajectory. I can see you guys
Yeah,
actively getting better.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because
Making sure we learn when we fall and we go up again.
that must have been fucking impossible, right? It's like you guys, with the addition of Duffman and continuing this year, you actually managed to get better within Europe. I was always the biggest scare thing on my end.
Everyone is doing a pretty precise job in a way internally, and it's been the same staff plus one for now a year and a half. So I think we're getting even better at understanding exactly what's our scope. And for example, so Isma as performance coach would really be in charge of your body, brain, and how the body is functioning, right? So that would be sports, that would be food, mental health, emotion, sleep patterns, how you recover, and all those stuff. So he put a lot of processes in place using the boxes we use on the schedule, right, to make sure the guy can breathe properly, how they monitor everything. So literally everything body related, and he's just really good at it. It's good at making you go introspect, which is really good for players and help them in a really neutral way to reflect on what happened and how we can replicate it and stuff. So that's it's been a joy to work with him on those for sure, because he's also helping the staff as well by making sure we are accountable with everything we're doing and saying. So I love that. The addition of Duff worked really well for everything gameplay pattern related, the habits enemy, our own habits, how to maximize the way you play the game, not just macro, also micro a bit, but more like to like a big puzzle, like really a big puzzle is a VOD boss. He watches an insane amount of them, and he's really structured in the way it works. It takes a lot of notes. Ismail as well, by the way. Ismail always take notes, but it's this idea of constantly reflecting on what you do so you can improvise it later and you can easily go back to it. So Duff's really good at that. And he has a great social relationship. Like he's pretty easy he's very chill to be around, so that makes him even more lethal in a way in the feedbacks he gives, because he doesn't want to make you feel like shit, just wants you to play better. So maybe we should have thought about that, doing that and stuff. So it's really good. Then you have Rodrigo as head analyst, so it's everything data related. It's really going to be the guy in charge of making sure we have the metrics, we can use them, and we can learn from them. So it's a good complementarity with Dylan, which is more the draft, like the different combos, the synergy between the champions, and the overall direction of the teams in terms of strat and stuff. And then he's a walking Wikipedias of games, So if he's seen it all, he's been there most of the time. He was on the winning side, on the losing side. He did crazy miracle runs, or he went to the final. So he's a whole Wikipedia. He's a whole package. He had everything. So it's really nice to play. And he loves puzzles. So that's really this whole aspect of it. And yeah, so the whole combination of those four gentlemen, which are really expert. So it's really a good party to go in a dungeon, You're going to need your healer, your fighter, your mage, what's important is for everyone to know what they're doing, because the moment the boss engages, you cannot have your healer like in the middle of it saying, should I? Oh no, that's not my job. How do you know it's not your job? Because we discussed it, that's his job. He's better at that, and he's going to have the right weapons and staff and skills to fight this. So it's working as five and trying to create the bubble of protection around the players so they can focus on the game, and making sure the way to focus on the game is going to be as efficient as possible. So it's working well so far with a defined job for everyone.
Makes sense. Do you guys ever feel, has there ever been a moment where you felt understaffed? Has there ever been anything that's ever been missing?
Probably. I'm just always conscious of changing this the current balance of thing. Yeah, for sure. Like I think 5 should be the minimum, because that's the exact amount of players, right? So you should have in a weird way one staff, one player at least. But then what exactly would we need, and to what extent? The solo coaching staff, which we started to add a bit with the work Alfari did with Bibi, was really, really interesting. That's something the Mac school does a lot, Mac and Pad. I remember discussing it with him. He really likes working and he knows how to use them efficiently in his staff. So that's something we tried a bit. It was a good success. But step by step, I for example right now, I think those 10 guys is good for this iteration of G2 for this mission, this dungeon.
Okay.
It's a big one, the one including worlds, and then at the end of the day of the year, we're going to sit down and discuss. But for sure, there could be more people. That makes sense, right? The deeper you go into your dungeon, the more you're going to need specialized job. At the beginning, the healer and the mage are the same guy. The deeper you go, you're probably going to need a guy dedicated to healing and one guy to do DPS. That makes sense. And then maybe the DPS is going to need to be a fire guy and one's going to need ice because you keep diving deeper. So this kind of ideas.
Okay, so for everybody out there that's listening to this, if you want to join G2, you need to know how to polymorph people and silence. You bring some new CC to the to the mix. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm excited to watch the continuous journey. We covered a lot. It's like the time always flies. I just checked. We hit the 2-hour mark.
Oh wow! On it.
Is there something that we
Nice.
haven't
Yeah,
covered? Open your soul, open your heart to me, Romain.
No, I think that was a pretty extensive show, Monsieur. We had a good MSI. What's your next step?
On my next step, basically, it's. I guess it requires a little bit of a deeper explanation because we talked about this before, right? Before we went live.
Yeah.
But basically, it's like the only way to work is that you have to commit yourself completely to it, and. I can say with my utmost honesty that the entire time I've been competing, like I have put everything on the wayside, and that's the only thing that I deem as acceptable. And I think I have reached a point where it's difficult to demand and ask for that level of let's say sacrifice for my line of work, because the last 14 years. Everything else has been on the wayside. It's like I am engaged now as well. And
yeah, that was my next question. When is the wedding next year?
It's like we are currently planning it because my intention was to stay with Casey for a long time, and I basically told Alena that we are going to this is going to be the team that I put a pin in everything, and then we can have children and we can ride off in the sunset and take it easy. Because it's like in the process of joining teams and moving to Berlin, everything is uprooted and everything else is pretty much sacrificed. You know, it's like you have the occasional maybe hour that you spend with a loved one, maybe a small phone call, maybe one great day you do something that is special, but everything becomes secondary. You know, it's a part of the job. You know, work-life balance, isn't it? And I'm at the point in my life where if I'm going to go through that again, there would need to be a project that I am so sold on, and I would have to be more sold than anything. So it's like basically I'm at the point where I feel like I'm very happy to do the content thing. I'm very happy to have conversations like this, to stream and to watch and be an observer because I love the game, and to maybe apply my expertise to the broader mass. So I'm gonna keep doing that. It feels good and fulfilling to build something that is my own, you know, because at the end of the day, it's like even you yourself, you mentioned this, like at the end of the day, you don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. Obviously, I imagine that you're gonna stay in G2 and the DNA will be continue to be built, but it's like the element of let's say risk and spontaneity like makes me want to move maybe in a direction where I work with a bigger overview. Like in a GM position, or even if I'm crazy enough to maybe make my own team. But currently, I'm very, very happy to work in the capacity of just streaming because I'm building like the floor and I'm not standing on
things are going well. You can focus only on that right now, and that's enough to stay sustainable.
Yes. So
nice. Perfect. So you can really take your time and keep your eyes and ears open and wild. Nice.
Because that was like the main thing. Like what you said is like the main thing. The main reason I've been doing the streaming and the content. It's like I'm lucky that I enjoy it too. but I always wanted to have like the privilege of choice, you know.
Yeah, but that's good.
So I could be in a project that I'm very, very passionate in, and
Yeah, I mean, making content makes a lot of sense for you. So you're naturally good at it. So it's awesome. It's working to a point where you can fully enjoy it and keeping your eyes open for something else. It's a nice second. It's a nice backup stuff, you know.
yeah. Now it's like
Because
we have seen too many of our friends to they dissipate, they go
sometimes
back.
it doesn't
And
work. Yeah,
sometimes doesn't work, man. And that's just
that's
scary,
true.
but fear is good. I feel like fear is good.
Feels good, and you must enjoy it a bit. So I'm sure you are in a weird way, because this job, as much as it can look like a dream job, it can be extremely consuming because you're constantly exposing yourself, and in what you're doing, way more than working on the team side. With the team side, you have specific filtered dedicated moment of interaction with your audience.
Yeah.
When you start to put yourself a lot in front of the camera through YouTube, Twitch, and others, you have to be ready for some shit.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, it is. So you must, yeah, because you're good at it most probably, but you must enjoy it a bit. If not, it drives you crazy, man.
No, for sure. I feel like that's like with anything, right? It's like, like
That's true.
your
But
job, you
yeah,
spend most of your life at your job. You spend your life
oh,
sleeping, get a good
I
bed,
agree.
and then you have a job that you need to enjoy, you know, like I
I
think
agree a
that's
lot
crucial.
with that.
You know? That's crucial. I think when I know family members, they work like gruesome jobs or friends, and it's tough. I feel so lucky and blessed that I found my passion in something that was just a video game at one point, yeah. And now I get to work with it, and I get to eat food and have a house over my head. It's like this will
Yeah,
never stop ceasing to amaze me, you know. That
that
part is crazy.
same thoughts we had in China multiple times. Like we're just playing a video game in a 5-star hotel room in the middle of China because we're gonna have to play versus other guys which are as good as us, and we paid a pretty decent amount of cash. We're traveling, we're going to stadiums for a little video game, you know. It's
Yes,
cool.
yes,
It's a blessing. We need to keep in mind all the time. We're so lucky to be doing the jobs we are right now. Even more us because we're winning a lot right now, so this job feels much better. But yeah, we have fun jobs for sure.
no, I agree. I agree. And if it ends tomorrow, I will be at peace because I feel eternally lucky, man. Eternally lucky, right?
Sometimes think about what if in 20, 30 years there is a zombie apocalypse or like a worldwide level of apocalypse. You know, those shows where after 1 month of battle, if you're one of the survivors, you know you're going to have to live in a dead world, and you're probably going to have to sit down somewhere around the fire next to those strangers. And that's the moment where you will need to have happy memories to go back to. So
Mm.
sometimes I think about myself as survivor sitting next to the fire, and so probably 30 years old more, which pushes me to like 60, and I'll be next to a youngling which is probably going to be 25, traumatized to oblivion because war just happened. It's, oh, what were you doing, old guy? You've never believed me, but back in the day I was helping a video games team. A what? Yeah, we were using old monitors. You didn't have a neural chip. No, we had to travel to China. What's China? Oh yeah, we don't have countries anymore in 30 years. So it's gonna be a bit long, but we used internet. So, but yeah, and those are gonna be really cool memories to say. I hope so. So I'm really grateful for living them every day with those nice bunch of gentlemen.
For sure, for sure. That's like that. Sometimes that's my biggest regret that I didn't realize earlier. You know, like, especially from my player
It's
days.
good. It's
Yeah.
because you were too into it, and I think it's the perks of getting older. You realize how lucky I was yesterday, and I hope I will be as lucky in 10 years. You know, I remember leaving the stage in Hamburg when I was fully black unicorn dressed, unicorns of love, and I don't remember if we played, but we lost. We lost this final, and I wanted the guy to stay a bit longer on stage, but they all rushed out of the stage because it's just lost, the CBA, they feel ashamed, they want to go home. I wanted to tell them, look, go make a little run around the stage because might be the last time in your life you're facing a stage with so many people, especially in League of Legends when you need to be top 2, top 3. And of course, in there pro players' heads. They were like, "Of course I would be back, Romain. Like, I'll be back next final because I'm the best player in the world. So I don't need to enjoy that now." But the truth was, yeah, we had Ilichachi and Ilisang in the team, So of course they saw big stage again. We had Exile mid, which sadly didn't see another stage, So stuff like that. And yeah, being grateful, I think all those incredible moments only come when you lose them, as you were saying. You wish you would have realized, yeah, but you do now. So the next time that happens again, you're gonna have to be even more grateful.
100%. It's there's so many benefits to being grateful and maintaining an attitude of humbleness. Because it also serves as a motivator, right? It's like then exactly what you're chasing, and if you appreciate something more, you put some more effort into achieving it again.
So even if you lose at the end, at least it was cool and you had fun. So it's nice. That's the only thing which matters at the end. Was it enjoyable? On this regard, really good MSI. Happy with it.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to hear that. I had before we had our call and our conversation after the World Championship. I sometimes I worry that based off of a single result, that people use it often in esports as confirmation bias. It's like, it's just because this result, everything we did was wrong. But you guys seem to just have bolstered and maintained everything that you did right leading up to that point too.
That's true. Even if at the end of the day, results are going to have an impact as well, If we start the season and we lose the first 9 games, 0-9, yeah, we're going to be lost because we feel our method as the right one right now. But everything is going to be challenged to the core, and that can happen. Succession of bad event, and you can only work on the parameters, which are, you worked on parameters, you try to limit, and having fun on the way. So at least you're having a good time.
You mentioned Mac a couple of times. We never talked about it, but it's like the whole revamp that Mad Lions went through, right? Because I always looked over at that team as something as I envy. It's like, they have their DNA. There's a certain energy that team always has because of how Mac and his squad works, and then they uprooted everything, right?
Yeah. Now Ian is going to recreate the system for Vitality, but in my memories, Mac has the same approach as you. He wants to join the team and his team to be the last one, where he can call those walls his walls and stay there and sweat for them and battle for them. And I could see this culture work really well with Vitality as well, which are they build that on the long run. So and it's the way he does things is for sure working. So it's always interesting for me to discuss business with him.
Vitality, I feel like they got to steal, It's like they as you mentioned, it's like they are just continuing their work there, and they brought over some of the key players too, and they just keep building. So.
And I'm quite sure it was extremely conscious on his side. So it's nice. Is it going to work? Yes, no. At least it's showing dedication to a specific method and be reliable on some specific people, which he kept importing with him. So yeah, it's going to be a fun opponent for summer.
I believe in this Linkas change because knowing how Vitality are and knowing how Linkas is, I think that he could solve some of the issues that they face. And
surely because he's starting with a buff. He has a staff buff, which is knowing how the staff is going to work and being positively vetted by them and already believe in the different methods. So it makes integration and performance availability for the players earlier than someone who would totally rediscover the team. So yeah, it's probably going to work.
For sure. No, I'm excited for that. On that topic, maybe it's not something that interests you super much, but there was a big conversation about there was poaching allegations and all this jazz.
Oh yeah.
And since you and sometimes interact in off seasons, of course, and you have the conversations with players. It's like, are we at the point where poaching is even real anymore, or is it? It's such a tough thing to prove. It's like, what is really poaching?
It is a complex thing because it's you have to deal with a lot of network relationship and it's a policing how far you can go to get someone else in your own adventure. G2 had a few allegations over the last years, and yeah, does it really exist in other sports? I have even other esports have the feeling poaching is part of the game for most esport title, just in the Riot game ecosystem, because it's so structured. You can only change contracts at this specific timeline, and Riot can efficiently enforce those rules because they can control when the contract starts, when the contract is done, and stuff. But I think it's really hard to prove as well. I'm still waiting on some big cases. It's hard to cross a specific line. You have all the agent to continue consideration. Yeah, it's. I hope I never lose a player to poaching, and I hope I will never be in the other side of the stuff. Let's see next off season.
Okay.
It's not the part of the GM life I like the most, to be fair. I think creating teams are fun. Having to move humans and lives around it is always a bit sad. The creating aspect of things is fun. The destroying aspects of things is always sad.
The off seasons are very, very business.
Yeah,
if we can call it
that's
that.
true.
Yeah. Very, very business. It's weird. Like on mine, I feel like it's always a question of the rules of the contracts is what should matter. Like if someone has an exit clause with a buyout, I think it's fair for other parties to know that. And if a player has a contract running out at a set date, for him to be allowed to prepare, whether it is with his agent or without his agent, I feel like that's enough freedom that I think that players should deserve, because their career spans are very, very small. So often in these disputes, I'm always in favor of the players, because
It's gonna come down to contracts for sure.
Yeah, I think that's
At
what
the
it
end of
should
the
be.
day.
I think poaching is kind of fake.
But you can put stuff in the different contracts to limit these kind of things. But not always on the negative way. It can be incentives and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all legal.
Okay. I wanted to bring up one more thing, considering like the esports calendar for League of Legends. There's the World Cup that is happening in Saudi Arabia. In terms of like, is G2 League of Legends showing up over there? Is that the plan?
I'm not even sure how much of all the stuff are public or not. Which in a way I might be giving answer. So I will just dodge the topic. I don't even know what's official or not regarding this topic.
Okay.
But in a world where this was going to happen, and if the teams had to show there, we would fight to win the tournament, 100%.
There's some other usual suspects that have been mentioned, so you don't need to break their bones regardless, right?
Yeah, no, that should. It's gonna be. Let's see when everything is released and officially debatable.
Okay. No, that's the better move. I think. I hope that if there's a League of Legends tournament, I hope that it's with a competitive spirit in mind. But I think, other than that, Romain, unless something else is on your heart.
I'm good for now.
Maybe on your mind, your soul, anything. I linger a little bit because I know the next one will be after the World Championship. You're gonna tell me, this is how we beat T1 this time around. We poisoned their coffee. No, I'm kidding.
No, we have to win fair and square. And to be fair, at the international event, every team is doing his own stuff, so they might end up feeling sick for whatever reason because they come to Europe. I hope they don't. I want a fair and square challenge with them 100% on stage, and then we win. Then we beat them. And revenge for 2019, I was in the arena. I was butt naked on stage, dressed as a Spartan. 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, ciao.
Shit.
Click faster, doing B. All right.
Fuck my life. Okay.
Revenge.
Happens. All right. Enact your fucking revenge. Rock and roll. You guys carrying Europe as like I always say, it's like the region is motivated by the best team in the region, and you guys take pride in being that at every level. And I think that levels up the region. I think you guys are doing your part, you know. And I hope that everyone else draws motivation from that part and gives you guys a fucking run for your money. I hope they come for you in every way possible. I hope they hunt you. I hope 9 teams work together to beat you, you know. I hope they make it as extreme as possible to just come after you. Just so you become as hardened as possible for the World Championship.
I'm super down. And then if someone beats us, then yeah, let's talk so we can learn. I want to win at the end, you know. So finally we can have Europe winning a World Cup World Trophy.
I look forward to it. Okay, Romain, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. Yeah.
See you, Yamato.
Take care, my man.
Talk to you soon.
See you.
Cheers.